Our YouTube, so we're back, of course, talk about some FF9 Remake. We have some potential info regarding the game coming from r/gaming leaks and rumors. This is just a random person, as far as I'm aware, when it comes to the subreddit. You know, they're not some like credible leak or anything like that. So, of course, we're taking this with a grain of salt. They even have the grain of salt flair on the Reddit post. Also, it's not a very popular post because it doesn't have any upvotes. So they open up the Reddit post with the "my dad works at Nintendo" type of shit, which for me is a bit of a red flag. But, of course, we're going to look at any kind of leaks and rumors regarding the 9 Remake, just in case they are legit. So let's hop right into it. Possible FF9 Remake details. I have a really good friend who works for a major American gaming publication as an associate editor. He was told by a coworker of his some details about the Final Fantasy IX Remake that they got from an apparent insider. Now, I don't know if any of it is true or not. I don't know if my friend was lying, if his coworker was lying, or if this insider was lying. I hope my friend wasn't, LOL. So please don't shoot the messenger. Here's the info he gave me. So again, right out the gate, it's a little suspicious. We have this person posting on Reddit who has a friend that works at a gaming publication or whatever, whose coworker told him about some info he got from an insider. So we're like multiple layers deep there for the source of information. So coming to PS5 and Switch 2, originally aimed for a 2025 release for 25th anniversary. However, it may have been pushed into 2026. No word on Xbox right now, but likely with Square's improved relationship with Microsoft, a PS4 version was considered, but unknown if it was canceled or not. So kind of a lot to unpack there. For one, they mentioned it coming to PS5 and Switch 2, but no other platforms confirmed at least, which is a little bit strange considering we had the Epic leak not too long ago, which would seem to confirm that it's coming to PC. And given that Square Enix's plan going forward is the multi-platform strategy, you gotta assume that it's coming to Xbox as well, and obviously PC. And potentially last gen, I don't know for sure on that. It's hard to know exactly what the 9 Remake is, right? If it's going to be something that's like requires, next gen platforms only or whatever. We talked about this game coming out in 2025 quite a bit, and I never put two and two together that would be the 25th anniversary, because obviously the game came out in the year 2000, and that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why they'd want to miss that mark if they are remaking 9. And it being potentially pushed to 2026 isn't impossible, but also the game's been in development for several years at this point, right? We're looking at the leak happened in 2021, so we're already like 3 years in on the leak almost. On top of the fact that it was potentially in development years before that, or however long before that. So I don't know why it would take all the way to 2026 for it to come out. Also, they go on to say later on that it's not like this, it's not like the remake style of remake where it's all going to be one game, at least according to their info. So I don't know why that would also need to be delayed even further if it's just going to be like a kind of slightly bigger version of the original game. Developed by a third party with Square overseeing it very closely with a few devs assisting. Not entirely sure who, but it seems likely that it's Tose, however you would say that, World of Final Fantasy, Crisis Core Reunion. And looking into that company did help with Crisis Core Reunion, which is something I didn't know. I didn't really look too much at like the development side of Crisis Core Reunion, so that's a little bit interesting. But the fact that they're saying that it's made by a third-party company contradicts with Midori's previous information that it was initially a third-party company and they brought development in-house, kind of like what they did with the 7 Remake project. So it's either their information being wrong or their information being outdated, if Midori's information is correct. Will be one game, not multi-part like Final Fantasy VII Remake, no major changes to the story, just expanded upon for additional character development, etc. So this piece of information's kind of nothing. I mean, it's what a lot of us want. We just want like a really good, kind of visual remake that's expanded a bit, given some more character development for certain characters. It's kind of like a safe piece of information if you're faking a leak, right? It's what the majority of people want. They don't want, the 9 Remake to be like the 7 Remake, right? There is part of me that wants that to a certain degree, and I always fall back on, like, the original still exists, right? When it comes to, like, FF7, even if you don't like the remake project, the original still exists. And same thing with the 9 Remake, right? Even if it's, like, something that they fuck up somehow, some way, you still have the original to play, right? So, like, I kind of, when it comes to, like, remaking old games, like, a part of me wants the 7 Remake treatment for them, because I want those worlds expanded, those characters expanded, those locations expanded, right? Because I want, to see that with, like, modern graphics and shit. But at the same time, if you're trying to do the 7 Remake stuff when it comes to 9 Remake, then we'd be waiting years between releases, right? Because that's a 4-disc game. I think the runtime's not super different than FF7. It's still like a 30 to 40 hour game or something like that if you're playing it. So it would be a similar, like, trilogy sort of thing if they were to do it like 7 Remake, but I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I'm fine if they did the visual overhaul, perfectly okay with that. It won't matter to me. But if they want to do, like, the 7 Remake, I'm, like, there for it, too. Art style will be very colorful and almost Pixar-like in order to stay true to the deformed look of the characters from the original game. However, it won't be so cartoony looking that it will distract from the serious undertones of the story. So this is another kind of safe one, I would say, just because this is more or less what people seem to want from the 9 Remake. Because when you say, like, Pixar-like, I think of the Memori project, which is, it kind of looks like a Pixar movie in a lot of ways. So that's more or less what people want. The most people I've seen talk about the Memori project seem to love the art style of it. And it's kind of already something that we've heard from, I believe, Midori. I think our last Midori video that we had done before he disappeared. He had said something like the art style was between Dragon Quest and I think the Memori project, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going off memory here. I'd have to watch back my video. And obviously, of course, when it comes to the original Final Fantasy IX, it has a kind of cartoony style. So it being Pixar-like, not really surprised. World map will be open, but each individual town, dungeon, etc. will be self-contained areas just like the original and classic Final Fantasy titles. This is kind of another nothing piece of information, because I don't think anybody was expecting the 9 Remake to have a seamless world. Like, I fully expected there to be, like, load screens when I go into locations. Plus, that's probably easier to make, right, than trying to make the entire world seamless, where you can just walk from one side to the other. Having to, like, load into an area makes it a little bit easier, I imagine. It'd be kind of cool, I guess, but if they're just doing, like, a visual remake and not doing the 7 Remake shit, then I'm fine with there being load screens. If they're trying to do the 7 Remake, then obviously we have something like Rebirth, which is a pretty seamless world overall, right? Where you can just walk into locations, there's no load screen. So it just depends on what kind of remake it is, ultimately. Turn-based is returning. It will be much more flashy, akin to recent Persona, Shin Megami Tensei titles, with multiple commands being performed in a turn if certain conditions are met. ATB will be faster, probably like Final Fantasy X-2. Lots of new mechanics added to keep it fresh and interesting. I can't personally speak for the Persona franchise and shit. Those aren't games I ever got into. But Ten-2 does have a really good combat system. Even people that don't necessarily like Ten-2 because of like the quirkiness and the weirdness of the game and story and shit, do appreciate the combat in the game. And it is very, very good, I would say. It's, you know, in a lot of ways, for a lot of people, it's one of the best ATB systems in the franchise. So something along those lines in the 9 Remake would be nice. I don't know how you make it quick and flashy and multiple moves type shit, because that's kind of like 13 in a way with like Ten-2, where you're like you're switching like styles and shit constantly throughout the game, throughout the fight or whatever. That's what kind of makes it unique and shit. So I don't know what you do in 9 that could even be close to that, because 9's kind of your standard old school RPG, right? Like you have abilities that you can equip, you know, in the menus to like improve your characters and shit, but like in the middle of combat, it's just whatever commands you have, that's how you fight. Ultimately, as long as the combat's pretty similar to the original, I'm fine with it. Some sort of like ATB / turn-based system, that's all I really care about. I want kind of an old school RPG. I like the action RPG stuff that I've been playing lately, and with the franchise, like 7 Remake and 16. Those are fun for what they are, but I do kind of want like an old school feeling RPG in the Final Fantasy franchise. Trance mechanic is improved. Players have the option to auto-trance like in the original or manually activated. There's also a de-trance option. When in trance, the character is more powerful and has access to trance-exclusive abilities. However, the ATB is much slower, which is why the de-trance option exists. It's also something that can be leveled up, which grants new abilities. There are even some normal abilities that can only be obtained through leveling up Trance. Now, that is some very specific information from a random leak, right? From some guy who has a friend that works at a place who his coworker has an insider. Like, to have this kind of in-depth info on the new Trance system. I will say, though, kind of like it. If indeed it is true, the option to have Trance mode be auto or manual, I think most people would probably choose manual, but the option there is kind of nice. But also having the ability to de-trance, I don't know why you'd want to do that necessarily, unless, like, you could save some of the trance bar by reverting back to your regular form. That could be useful, but other than that, I don't know why you'd ever change it. Just stay in the form for the rest of the fight. Unless the ATB bar being a bit slower when you're in trance form, I think can make a bit of sense, because they've already said, at least according to their information, that the ATB bar in this version of 9 is faster by default, right? Similar to like 10.2 or whatever. So it'd make a bit of sense that when you go into trance mode, you slow down a bit, because you'd be spamming like more powerful attacks because you're in a more powerful state. And being able to learn moves through the trance mode is an interesting idea. I just don't know how they do it exactly, because with the original game, you learn abilities through AP with your gear, like your equipment that you're wearing, right? Your weapons, your armors, your accessories. That's how you learn abilities for each character. So how would you learn abilities with trance mode? Do you have to like finish a fight in trance mode so the trance mode itself earns AP? I don't know how to do that exactly, because it seems a little convoluted. That's pretty much it, at least when it comes to the Reddit post. They did respond a few times in the comments below, but there's nothing kind of interesting from that. Just people saying, I don't know if this is legit, and he's like, I thought it was kind of cool information, so I figured I'd post it. So, who knows? Again, it's like fourth-hand information. It's him recalling information he got from a friend who got info from his coworker who had an insider. It's like, even if this was legit, who knows when the information's passed that many times, if any of it's accurate, even if it was real by chance. As I said towards the beginning of the video, it gives off that my friend's dad works in Nintendo Energy, so it's probably not legit, but you never know, right? We covered this shit just in case. Even if this isn't legit, some of it could be. Even if it was just somebody guessing and coming up with ideas. And there's a couple of safe ones here, like, you know, the art style and the world being not seamless and things like that, that a lot of us expect anyways. But of course, pass off to you guys. What are your thoughts on the info that we looked at today for the 9 Remake? How much of it do you think is real, accurate? Is any of it real? Is the 9 Remake itself real? I think it is, but god damn it, when are they going to fucking reveal it? Also, if you made it this far into the video, clearly the setup is a bit different. I need a little bit more room here. That shelf was kind of in the way. It's just temporary. This is just kind of thrown together for the video. It'll probably change as the videos continue. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm just kind of winging it. Anyways, that's the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. So in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @davidYT. That's it.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.